What's up, y'all? It's your girl, B. Nicole, and I'm back with another live Be Inspired Today message. So, I know that we are in a complete new decade, new year, and if you haven't already, I posted like a Happy New Year life update video, so you should definitely go and check it out. But I'm here to kick back off the career highs and lows series that I was doing before I took a little break. I do want to go ahead and say thank you so much to all of you who have subscribed to the channel and continue to support Be Nicole Inspiring Souls. You have no idea, but it means a lot to me because there's so many platforms that you all can support, and the fact that you take the time to support my little baby really puts a huge smile on my face. So let's jump. I did not realize that I was about to go on what felt like a tour, like a job tour. I mean, I feel like I went to every university in the state of Alabama, and I actually would have phone interviews, and I would have an on-campus interview, and I would be so confident about, okay, this has to be it. Like, this has to be the one because, I mean, I've been on so many of these. Surely I'm only getting better during the interview and figuring out ways to best present myself. Was, at UAB. I interviewed at Auburn. I interviewed at the University of Alabama. I had an interview at Stanford. And I am, driving and taking, off work to go to these interviews. And it's costing me money because you gotta get there. And slowly but surely, definitely starting to get a little discouraged for sure. Because I think in the beginning of a job search, you're so positive and you know what the mission is, and so you're that much more encouraged and motivated. But about midway through, you're kind of exhausted and you're tired of having to fill out what feels like the exact same application, and you're having to answer the exact same questions. But remember, now I'm still praying because I recognize that I only wanted to be where God was going to place me. So as much as I can say that it was frustrating, I also had a lot of peace because I was like, I want every door to shut that is not from God. And in my mind, you would think that like God would just take me to the job, but I really think God wanted me to trust him in this season, and that's the reason why I had so many opportunities being presented. And I remember when I went to interview for the job at UAB, I remember being like, okay, Birmingham, it's close enough home. Like, I feel like UAB is like the perfect fit for me. And I go in, do the interview, feeling really good about my interview and about how the day went. At the very end, of course, they always say if you can, do you have any questions for them? And so my question was, where would this recruiter be placed? Because pretty much I was applying for recruiter positions, regional recruiter or an admissions counselor position based on campus. And when I asked them that question, they were like, well, we don't know at this time. And that was not what I really wanted to hear. I truly felt like the position that God was going to give me, everything was already figured out. And the fact that they hadn't put any thought into where this person would be placed. And the thing about it is that it was important to me about location because I'm a big family, and so ideally I wanted to stay within close proximity to my hometown and be within driving distance. And I knew that they had a lot of regional recruiters who were based out of state. And again, if that was God's will for my life, then I was definitely, open to it, but it almost reassured me that this was not the job. It pretty much, when she said, we don't know at this time, but we're still working out the details, I knew then that this was not the job for me. And I had that much more peace driving back home, knowing that, again, I've interviewed for another job. It got so discouraging that even my family was like, well, Brittany, maybe you should just stop interviewing. Why don't you just take a break? I'm pretty sure you're exhausted. I mean, you've been to every, university almost. Like, maybe you shouldn't, go to any more interviews. Ended up going to another interview again at the University of Alabama. And interesting enough that when I went as I was driving to Tuscaloosa this time around, I had a different vibe. I honestly, even like the signals, which is crazy, but I felt like literally like, this is it. So be encouraged. Think happy thoughts, because I really, really, I feel so good about this opportunity. And it was crazy because I was recruiting that day and I had like 3 fairs, but we were going to have a large gap in between the fairs. So what I was able to do is to drive to Tuscaloosa, go interview, and still make it back to my night college fair, and didn't miss a beat. So I go to campus, I interview, and I felt so good about the interview. I didn't really know if UA was a good fit for me at that time. I knew that the campus was large, but again, remember, I'm looking to go somewhere where I can be challenged and somewhere that's going to pull me out of my comfort zone. And I felt like UA was one of those places that could definitely benefit me professionally. So I do that, and it always seems like the response takes forever. But I do remember getting the request for a background check. And at the time, I didn't know it. But if you get that request for the background check and the background check clears, then you pretty much got the job. But I did not know it at the time. So I'm really nervous now because I'm like, is something going to show up? Which I've never been arrested. There shouldn't be anything on my record, but you just start having those thoughts because you're like, ooh, I don't know. And literally, probably about a week later, he calls, and the man calls, and he offers me a job within their admissions office. Now, interesting enough, I had been on so many interviews and read so many job descriptions. I honestly did not even know what I was actually taking. I knew it was a job in admissions, and I knew that it was a different format, but did not realize that it was not gonna be my typical day-to-day recruiting activity and way less travel. But again, I've been on so many interviews and I've read so many job descriptions. I'm just like, they all started to pretty much merge together. So he asked me about an ideal start date, and I give myself 2 weeks. Now, remind you, I have already renewed my lease in Huntsville. And it was crazy because I told my brother, I was like, Granny, I really, really feel like I'm not supposed to renew this lease. And I feel like I need to do the month option, which was gonna cost me more money. And my grandmother was like, well, Brittany, you don't have the extra to give them every month. And I felt so strongly about not renewing the lease, but out of fear, and because I had no opportunities on the table, I go ahead and renew the lease for a year. This is literally probably, all this is happening like 3 weeks tops from when I go in and renew the lease. Not even realizing what I had just said. Because it's easy, right, to just move to a whole different location and city. And it's like, I don't have that much stuff, to move. So I literally go to the leasing office. I'm talking with them, and they basically tell me that, yeah, I can pay the break lease fee, but I would also owe, unless I found someone to stay in my apartment, so sublease, take over the lease. And I did not know anyone at the time who was looking to move. And I was talking with my grandmother, and she was like, well, maybe there's somebody at the church. And there was nothing pressing for me to ask around the church. I wholeheartedly feel like if this is a God thing, then God is going to make this happen, even though it's looking as if though I have complicated the situation. I'm still going to trust God to help me see it through. So, ends up, I share with a girl from the church, like, oh my goodness, it's a dilemma. She was kind of reaching out, and she knew someone who was kind of looking to move or thinking about getting an apartment, but they really weren't 100% sure. And I talked with them, and again, I'm not really stressing out, even though it's like, Brittany, you're like supposed to be taking a job there, and at the moment you still have a lease here, so I don't know how that's gonna work. So it's like, yes, I have a job offer on the table, but I am not 100% sure about where I'm going to be living. Will I be able to move to Tuscaloosa, or will I be living in Huntsville? I decide, well, you know what? It sounds crazy, but it's just not time. So you know what? I'm just going to stay in Huntsville, and unfortunately, I'm going to make the commute until somebody that I meet along the way needs a place, because I could not afford rent in Tuscaloosa and rent in Huntsville at all. It wasn't gonna happen. So I go to the leasing office. I'm like, hi, I had to come talk with you all earlier about breaking my lease. Don't worry about that now. I'm going to just stay here and figure it out. I remember the girl having this really strange look on her face. She goes to the back. She says, can you hold on for a second? She goes to the back at the manager. The manager comes out and was like, don't you stay in an apartment? And I'm like, yes, that's me. I know, I came. I said I was going to break the lease. So sorry for all the confusion. I'm not going to be able to do that. And she starts laughing. She's like, we've already leased your apartment, and the person needed it like ASAP, so we're expecting you to be out by Sunday. This is Friday. They were like, the person needed to move in next week. And I'm like, huh? So y'all just found somebody and didn't tell me? Which was crazy, because I have nothing packed. I have nowhere to go, because I stopped looking for places in Tuscaloosa. I came down to Tuscaloosa with my mom and my sister, and I'll be honest, they probably were not the right two people to come to Tuscaloosa with for apartment hunting. My mom and my sister, they're so bougie, and it's really hard to impress them. And you gotta remember, this is like mid-October, so we're working with like scraps here, and a lot of the complexes did not have any rooms left. They all were asking if I could wait until, give them about 3 more weeks, so like people start moving out and things, and we can get you in. But I didn't have 3 weeks, to wait. Like, I needed a place to stay ASAP. There was one apartment that I found, that was decent, but I also felt like I was kind of settling, and I was like, I didn't have peace about it. So I left Tuscaloosa feeling so discouraged, because I was like, I thought this was going to be so grand and so promising, and I don't have a place to stay. So the apartment in Huntsville is telling me, they're expecting me to be out by Saturday. So I asked them if I can get an extension and possibly be out by Sunday before they close. And they agreed. They said we probably won't be able to get anyone in there until Monday anyways to clean, so we'll go ahead and give you until. Now, mind you, they had already told me that, by me breaking this lease, that I was going to have to pay them for the year. And that was going to be like, it was like $7,000 plus. Where was I going to get that kind of money from? And it was so discouraging. But for some odd reason, I literally was operating with big faith. Like, major faith. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta get everything packed and I gotta get out of here. Call my mom. My mom is like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I wish I was. She was like happy for me, because basically I can get out of my lease. But she was also like, Brittany, you have nothing packed. So I'm like going to get boxed and everything. I start packing, of course, and we get everything. We get a U-Haul truck. We get everything moved out in time. Mind blowing. Just even thinking about it now. My mom and my grandmother came down, and we got everything packed up and loaded, and we were pretty much good to go. So it was crazy that this person, never got to meet them, but obviously God sent them to the complex. And you ever think about how, like, when you stay in a place that God is calling you out of, you can be holding up the space that someone else needs, and vice versa. So it's like, man, because they had already billed me for the $7,600. So it was like, that bill that was sent to me has been wiped out. And oddly enough, the apartment went from sending me a bill of $7,600, I think it was like $7,600, $7,000 plus, to now giving me a check. So it went from me owing them money to them owing me money back. Crazy. Also, when I got the job offer, I asked for moving expenses, and they declined. They said, we don't pay, for moving expenses. And that also was discouraging, because again, y'all, I do not have the money, like, to move for real. But let me tell you how faithful God is. So I'm still moving forward, because I'm just trusting God. All I had was like faith and my prayers. That's it. That's really all that I had. So at the university, because I was a regional recruiter who had access to work from home, there were a lot of times where, if I was sick that day, then I would just work from home. So, like, not too sick. Like, if I was too sick, then I need a day off. But if I'm just, like, runny nose and, like, maybe exhausted, then I would work from home. And so I pretty much had plenty of annual leave. I don't know how many hours, but I have plenty of annual leave and sick leave. Well, what I did not know at the time is that your sick leave will transfer. So your sick leave will follow you. So every university that I've been at, literally my sick leave is just carried over. So from Jacksonville State to UNA to Alabama, my sick leave continues to just carry over. So I have roughly like 360 something hours even now in sick leave, because I really don't ever get sick. And when I do get sick, that's when I know, okay, you're overdoing it and your body's asking for a break. But I feel like I'm pretty healthy, and so I really don't ever get sick, so I don't have to use those sick days. But your annual leave, they have to pay you out for. So what I didn't know is that the university, UNA, was about to cut me a check for my annual leave. The check that they cut for my annual leave somehow, magically, was just enough for me to make the move from Huntsville to ding ding Birmingham. So I thought I was gonna move in Tuscaloosa, and I'll tell you something that I did. Because remember, I found a place in Tuscaloosa, but I didn't have any peace about it. So I was like, you know what? I know it sounds crazy. It's what I told my mom. I was like, I know it sounds crazy, Mom, but I'm just gonna have to make the drive back and forth from Tuscaloosa to from Birmingham to Tuscaloosa. I'm sorry, forgive me. From Florence to Tuscaloosa until God says otherwise. So for the first week of me being employed at UA, I drove from Florence to Tuscaloosa. I would get off work and I would drive from Tuscaloosa back to Florence. I'd get something to eat. I would go to sleep and get up and do it all over again. And I did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So, do that the first week, and I'm like, yeah, this is not gonna work, because there were some mornings, I'll be honest, I don't know how I made it to work safely, because it was like so early. I feel like I was like getting up at like, no, I was hitting the road at like 5:30. Yeah, hitting the road at 5:30. I would get off work at 4:45, getting back home at like 7:30, and I did that for the first week. That weekend, I come to Birmingham, and I'm looking around, and again, y'all, I'm trusting God. I'm believing that God's gonna just point me in the direction that He desires me to go, even when it came to my living arrangements. And crazy enough, I went to 3 apartments. The first apartment, my mom was with me. The first apartment, my mom was just like so not impressed with. But again, I already told y'all, she's very, very hard to please. So the first one, she was just like, I'm not even gonna go in and look at them. But they just had it had a lot going on, just a lot going on. And when I'm looking for apartments, I'm looking at everything, from the people who work in the leasing office to the people who live in the complex. You know, it's the trash being picked up, it's the dumpster overflowing. Like, I'm looking at all of the stuff that most people probably don't pay attention to until after the fact. So the first one, we weeded out. The second one we go to, they were actually closed for lunch break. So we like how it looked from the outside. We said we'll come back. We go to the third one. The third one, we actually really, really, really liked it. The only thing about it was that it did not come with the washer and dryer, and it didn't come with the washer and dryer in the apartment, which was kind of major for me living in Birmingham. The washer and dryer was kind of one of those things I had on the list. So we're like, okay, I really liked it. It seemed like a really nice place to stay. So we go back to the second place, and the second place we go, we look, and I'm like, OMG, I think this is the place. And it was crazy because, they go over costs and all that, and it was way more expensive than what I had been paying in Huntsville. And I'm like, can I even afford this place? I don't know. But I'm like, oh my goodness, I love it. It had walk-in closet. It just, man, I loved it. It was so beautiful, and I just knew that it was the place. So I'm like, I don't like making I don't like making decisions like, I don't like making rush decisions. I like to really be able to think about it and make sure like this is what I want. So I'm like, let's go eat. Let me get some food in my belly, and then if so, if I got peace about it after that, we'll come back. We'll fill the application. So, anyways, I'm thinking about the price and everything like that, because that's kind of the one thing that I was kind of on edge about was the price. So, come back, fill out the application. When we submit the application, she starts telling me all this stuff that I was not gonna have to pay. She was like, you don't gotta pay that. You don't gotta pay a deposit. You don't have to pay this. You don't have to pay this. It was literally just knocking stuff off that I didn't have to pay. And I don't even know really why I didn't have to pay it. She was like, you don't have to pay this, you don't have to pay this, you don't have to pay this. Which was crazy. So literally, I remember I told you the job doesn't offer moving expenses, but I've gotten, and at the time I had not received the check yet, but I had been told that a check from UNA was going to be coming to me. So as I'm getting the application, because they were kind of busy that day, I'm getting the application, I wanted to go look at the gym, because at that point in Huntsville I was kind of working out, and I'm not a gym nut per se, but I do at the time. I ain't been in the gym in a while, but the gym was really important to me. So I go check out the gym. I'm like, oh, okay, I can work with this. It basically had all of your basic gym equipment in there, but just enough for someone like myself who's a beginner. And they also had a movie theater, and just so happened, y'all, that it's football season, and this is a Saturday, and so I just wanted to peek into the theater. There were people in there watching Alabama football. So anyways, the man who's in there watching it with his family, he comes out. I'm like, oh, so sorry, I'm just, looking around, thinking about, living here, and I just wanted to, see what the extra amenities were. He comes out, y'all, and he's like, hey, love the place. Me and my wife, we've been here for 2 years. We haven't had any issues. It's a good place. It's, very quiet. Good neighbors, too. He's like, I love it. He's like, and I think you would, too. So I'm like, okay, perfect. He's like, oh, and he's like, by the way, have you already submitted the app, or you can ready? I'm like, oh, I've submitted it, but it hasn't been processed yet. They're kind of busy up front. And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure if you put my name down as a referral, he said, I'll get $500. He said, if I get the $500, he said, I'll give you $250. Now, in the moment, I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because this man don't know me. I literally just met this man. So this man don't know me. This man don't look like me. The only thing me and this man probably got in common is that we're both Alabama football fans. So it's why would this man want to give me $250 of his $500? So I'm like, okay. So I literally go back up to the front, and I'm like, oh, hey, I forgot to put this man's name down. The app was right there. She hadn't pulled it yet. So write the man's name down. He literally exchanged. He gave me his number, and then he took my number. But I think nothing else about this. Also, at the time, the apartment was running a special, y'all, and the special was pretty much if you signed, it was look and lease, and 48 hours, then you would get some gift cards to rooms to go. So, you know, a lot of perks, a lot of benefits, but I'm like, man, this is all happening so fast. So literally, she processed the application. You can move in Monday. She was like, I don't know. She's like, we've never had an application go through that fast. She said, but we called your complex in Huntsville and they literally sent everything over, like literally the moment we requested it. She was like, so you're good to go. She's like, we'll have your keys and everything on Monday. I was like, oh, okay. So I go home. I kind of have peace because I'm like, all right, got a place to stay. And I go home that night. We go back to Florence, go to work on Monday. And so I drive that Monday from Florence to Tuscaloosa one last time. And then when I got off work that day, I was so excited because I was driving from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham. So when I initially, of course, I was like, okay, I've just signed an 18-month lease, so hey, we'll stay here 18 months. But I was like, the goal for me was always to get back to Tuscaloosa. That was my goal, like my plan. So I drove in, and when I came to Birmingham the very first night, I had an air mattress and I had some clothes in my car to get me through that week. And literally no furniture, but I didn't care. I got my own place and I'm excited, and this is gonna be good. I'm literally like on the up and up. So literally the check from UNA comes, and it was like crazy. It was like, man, I was worried about moving expenses coming from the job, and God was gonna literally send it through a whole different source. Back to the man. So probably about 2 weeks after me living there, the man calls. He's like, hey. He was like, this is so-and-so. He was like, and I have your money. Because the first time he had a voicemail, so calling back, I had missed his call. Got your money. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not in Birmingham at the time. I'm out of town, but I'll let you know when I get back in. I said it'll probably be Sunday, late Sunday. And he said, well, that's fine. He said, I'll have my wife and myself outside, and we'll meet you that way. You feel safe. Okay. The man called the next day as a reminder, hey, don't forget, I have your money. I'm like, this is so odd. This man is real persistent about getting me this money. So Sunday, I'm on the phone with my grandma. I'm like, hey, Granny, I'm pulling up. So if anything goes off, I want you to know where I'm at, my location. But there was the man and his wife, and he literally hands me $250 in cash. Y'all, so crazy. Also at this time, I get the gift card. The gift cards, they gave you 2 gift cards, $1,500 a piece, and took $3,000 to go purchase new furniture. So I didn't see any point in bringing any of my old furniture. So I went quite some time without furniture in my new place, but your girl did not even care. So I got an entire living room set, this beautiful little sofa here with these little cutesy pillows. It was so crazy because I didn't know that the pillows came with it, and the man was like, we'll throw those in there as an extra perk, and I was like so yeah, get new furniture set, and I also got the bedroom. So I got a new bed, brand new mattress, and this beautiful wood dresser. Y'all, it was so crazy. It was so weird being in a store. Pick out whatever you want, no stipulations, and $3,000. Now, what I found to be so odd, y'all, is that I never saw them do that that particular incentive. I never saw them do that again. The furniture. They did some other stuff like tickets to national championship games, stuff like that, but they didn't do the rooms to go gift cards. Then, UNA sending me the check for my annual leave, and then this man who I did not know telling me to put him down as a referral, and he gonna give me half of the 500. Talk about the faithfulness of God and how I knew. I just knew, okay, this is where God wants me, and even though it doesn't make sense to me, because it don't make sense to live somewhere, work somewhere else, especially when you're not a morning person like myself. But man, that all literally screams God is faithful. So that is how I ended up living in Birmingham over Tuscaloosa. And because I'm up on time, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Just know you can come back every Sunday and catch a new video, me giving another live Be Inspired Today a message. I hope that this will encourage someone to trust God regardless. Regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what your account says, regardless of what people say, trust God. But yeah, I will see you all in my next video, and don't forget #BeInspiredToday. Bye.